Welcome to the lecture for Chapter 4, Using the Internet in Sport Public Relations. Previous chapters have discussed relationships with publics in PR, but now we switch to how the Internet and technology can enhance relationships. Today we're going to look at the benefits of websites, website purposes, some examples of good sports websites, website design, promotion, and how websites can be used for specific stakeholders. Let's go ahead and get started. The chapter begins by discussing some benefits of website use in public relations, and the chapter gives us 7 specific items. The first benefit of using websites are their global reach. Users or fans from all over the world, locally, internationally, regionally, are able to come to your website in order to access information. The second benefit is the speed and user choice. The speed is that fans can find information instantaneously, but also there is usually a lot of information on websites, so no matter what the user is seeking, if they come to a good website, they're going to be able to find information that can satisfy a variety of interests. The third benefit is that websites can support multiple content types. So a good website might provide audio, video, graphics, or even animation in order to make their website content look interesting and entertaining. A fourth benefit of websites is that they can support transactions. Transactions online are also commonly referred to as e-commerce, and e-commerce is a multi-billion-dollar industry. E-commerce can provide platforms for transactions to take place and enable consumers to spend money online, whether that's for tickets or even their favorite team's gear. A fifth benefit are the computational functions that websites can provide. These are particularly seen within fantasy sports, where fans can manipulate statistics and player transactions. A sixth benefit are the website's interactive capability. We can see this when websites include social media on their platform. And the seventh benefit is that websites can be adaptable and customizable. This can be all done at a moment's notice, and oftentimes they can be updated with very low cost attached to that. This is especially important in sport public relations. If a crisis occurs, a website can be updated to provide breaking information, or even just to update websites to provide information about wins and losses or the score of a game. Besides the benefits of a website, the textbook is also going to look at what the purposes of a website can be. And while the chapter outlines a couple of different purposes, it's important to remember that websites can serve one purpose or they can serve multiple purposes, and that one website might include and do a number of these items. So the chapter is going to tell us that the purpose of a website might be to educate a public, to entertain a public, to provide news or information about an organization, to facilitate e-commerce. So if a fan wants to buy a jersey, they can come to that website and purchase it. They can also facilitate web portals, which are links to the other sites that are affiliated with the website that you're looking at. So for example, if I were to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, the National Basketball Association's team in the LA area, if I were to go to that website, I would see a link that would bring me to the overall NBA organization's website. So web portals are simply links that are on one website that can bring you to other websites that are related to that content. Another purpose is to persuade audiences. So if you want people to persuade to donate to ISU athletics, there could be a persuasive element to a website. They can enhance community building if they tell stories about what athletes are doing in a community. And they can also offer a site for personal and artistic expression. Besides benefits and purposes, the chapter is also going to look at the type of content that websites can and should include. If you'd like to take a second to open your textbook to page 81, there's a nice visual that can give you an idea of the different type of content that websites can have depending on their audiences and what the purpose of that website is. So either go ahead and open up your textbook if it's in front of you, or pause this lecture and go get it. Once you're able to get to page 81, if you look at the bottom to table 4.1, this is going to show you some potential website content. On the far left, it begins with college athletic sites, and we see things like team rosters, schedules and results, statistics, historical records, even ticket information and facility information. It might be interesting to go to the ISU Athletics page in order to see what they include and what they don't include as compared to this chart. The second category is going to look at pro team sites. That includes a lot of the similar information that college athletic sites do, but there might be more emphasis on other things like charity partners, merchandise, or fantasy camps. The third column is going to lead us to fitness club sites. So this can include the programs that are offered at that club, directions, hours of operation, and maybe even a newsletter. And finally, another type of category that relates to websites are retail sites. So this is going to have more of a focus on merchandise, prices, sales, how to get gift cards, and even loyalty programs. So that table 4.1 on page 81 is going to give you a nice idea of what type of content is typical within these different types of websites that are geared towards sporting organizations. Once you've figured out what content to include, it's important to spend a little bit of time to consider how you'll design a website page. The chapter gives you 7 recommendations for how to do that. The first is to create a structure. You want your website to be easy for users to navigate so that information is visible and it becomes very clear how to navigate around your page. Websites should also put valuable content on every page, so as a user clicks through to different links on a page, it would bring that user to more in-depth information. Websites also have to make a good first impression, and that's why home pages are so important. Because when a user comes to a home page and it appears clean and easy to navigate, they'll probably stay on that website longer. But if they come to a website that is overwhelming with too much information and the user doesn't know where to go first, then users typically are not going to spend very much time on that website. Which leads to the next point, that you want to design with restraint and common sense, including links that people want. So common ones include a fact page, a directory, or even a contact us link. Viewers are able to scan the page so they can see very clear headings. And designers of web pages want to avoid large blocks of text. Think about what you like when you visit a website. Usually it's things that are scannable and easy to understand, and you don't want to spend time reading through a bunch of text to figure out where you're going or what the page has in it. Another idea is that you want to use graphics and pictures because that would make it more appealing. Website design can also consider making navigation clear and consistent. Design and content should be continually reviewed, and you always want to keep the user first. It's not as important as what you want to say about your organization, but are users going to be able to come to that web page and find the most important information that they might want? Let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples of website pages to take a look at how designs can differ. So this is a screenshot of the Dallas Mavericks web page. And you can see that they've taken a pretty strategic approach to their web page. And in a second, we'll see how it differs from pretty much every other NBA website that there is. All of the information is visible and clear at the top. They use a consistent color scheme. And the main picture, while entertaining and interesting, is really very minimal and clean, with information at the bottom that describes the picture and provides a link if users want to continue and get more information. This second example is going to contrast with the Dallas Mavericks website and provides a picture of what most of the NBA websites look like. It's up to you whether or not you think this is attractive or not, but I think if we compare it to what the textbook talks about, we're going to find this page for the LA Lakers to be much busier. You have advertisements, there are clear links at the top, but it gets to be a lot of information right before your eyes, where it's a little bit harder to take in and to navigate. Promoting your website is another important step within sport PR, and you want to try to figure out how you can attract viewers to drive traffic to your website. Some ideas are that you can advertise on other sites that your customers or fans go to. You can use online promotions and sweepstakes to encourage people to go and try out items. And you can even collaborate with other organizations to gain access to their site users. So if you have a team that is sponsored by Adidas, then you might be able to tap into Adidas on some level, or Adidas can tap into a sports organization if there are some mutually beneficial items that they might want to sell or promote to their fan base. Sport PR practitioners can also start to create websites with specific stakeholders in mind. And this slide is going to help us categorize how we can think about websites for specific groups. You can create websites specifically made for media relations, and this website or a link on your main website that would bring you to this other area of your website could include things like news releases, media guides, press kits, or even statistics, all types of things that people within media relations would be interested in. You can also have part of a web page or a web page on its own that focuses on an organization's community relations. You can use the site to manage charitable requests, promote direct contact initiatives, or even offer services specifically designed to maintain or enhance a sense of community through stakeholders. And this is where you could include things like web videos. A third thing are consumer relations. Here you can encourage the use of e-commerce. So you would drive people to your site in order to buy things. Another one is employee relations, and this is also often known as an intranet versus an internet. An intranet is usually an internal website that's only accessible to employees. And finally, you can think of using websites in terms of donor relations. This is when you want to enhance raising money, improve donor relationships, or just communicate with constituents. One of the last items that the chapter talks about is blogging. Blogging can be both an opportunity and a concern for organizations. Sometimes players might want to write a piece that offers a behind-the-scene look at what players go through, whether they're traveling or in the locker room or things that happen during practice. If you're a big fan of an organization, you might really be interested in an inside, behind-the-scenes peek into what an organization and its players go through. If players write these things and they are positive, then they can be great publicity for your organization. But if they start to write things and put it out on the internet or onto social media about things that are not going so well, then they can potentially be a concern or even a crisis for an organization. But I've even seen here at ISU, or knowing people that have played professional sports, that if they have the ability to write and can post blogs or pieces that are written about what happens behind the scenes, fans tend to really enjoy that inside look. Blog sites are also function by being developed by people outside of the organization. So it's not just the CEO or the players that are writing the blogs, but they're written by people outside of the organization. And in sport PR, we always want to make sure that we're aware of what types of sites exist, and then we want to follow those sites just so we can keep a finger on the pulse of the conversation that's happening around our organization. That concludes the lecture for Chapter 4 that looks at the internet and websites in sport PR. Thanks for listening.